content in ASMR, so if you're wondering why I'm whispering, this is an ASMR channel. And speaking of the channel, I will be making a few changes to the channel. So I've noticed that I get more engagement and more views when I read my true crime book. So this is strictly just gonna be a channel where I read true crime books, different true crime books, and I will post some cases here and there, but it won't be too many cases that I'll, upload. It'll also save a lot of time with me having to research and find the correct information to put in the video. So let me know you guys' opinions down below. I do have a lot of true crime books that I am interested in reading, and when I'm done with the book, I will give them to you guys with an autograph. So let me know how you guys feel about that. If you guys are with that, if you guys are not with that, let me know down below. So I don't have a first comment winner. The person that actually won the first comment, I guess, deleted their comment, or their comment was removed for some reason. So anyways, let's go ahead and get straight into the video. I will be reading from my true crime book. So sit back, relax, grab a snack, and enjoy some crime time. Warning, this video may contain details of graphic content. This channel is for mature audiences only. Some viewers might find this disturbing. Right before we get started, just a warning, if you guys hear some raindrops or a little bit of thunder, it is raining really, really, really bad today, so disregard that, but it might be more soothing to you. So let's get started. For more than 100 years, Refshaleon, a large industrial area in the port of Copenhagen, Denmark, was home to Burmester and Wayne, one of the world's leading diesel engine producers for large ships. The company thrived for 150 years, employing over 8,000 people until the global competitiveness of the shipping industry in the 1970s eventually caused the company to collapse. Over 120 acres of dilapidated shipyard sat abandoned for the next decade or so. By the late 90s, the warehouses, with their rusted metal landscapes and cheap rents, became home to local inspiring artists and entrepreneurs. The artificial island was only a quick 10-minute bike ride from the city center of Copenhagen. By the late 2010s, the area had grown into a vibrant, thriving hipster bastion. Over time, the starving artists were eventually pushed out by the flourishing tech firms, craft brewers, and food vendors. Today, the area features many popular restaurants, including Alchemist, consistently rated one of the best restaurants in the world. It features $15 million of decor and seats only 40 guests for a 5-hour meal, a $700 a plate. The area is also home to the annual Copenhagen Heavy Metal Festival, featuring some of the largest names in the heavy metal, such as Ozzy Osbourne, Tool, Kiss, or KISS, and Iron Maiden. One of the better-known entrepreneurs that had occupied the area was Peter Madison, a Danish inventor, artist, and entrepreneur known to many as Rocket a popular TED Talk and was working on a personal rocket design for human travel in 2017 that he described as an intercontinental ballistic missile passenger ship. He was known as a charismatic dreamer that some thought of an inspiring small-scale Elon Musk or Richard Branson. Kim Wall was an independent journalist living in Copenhagen and thought Peter Madsen would be an excellent subject for one of her long-form articles. Kim was exceedingly intelligent and internally curious. To hear her friends describe the petite redhead as a quote, a badass, was a gross understatement. The ambitious 30-year-old had written many articles that had taken her all over the world. Born and raised in Sweden, Kim spent most of her adult life scouring the globe. She earned her bachelor's degree in international relations at the London School of Economics, then moved on to graduate with honors from Columbia University in New York with 2 master's degrees in journalism and international relations. Kim's writings were certainly not fluff pieces. She wrote articles on foreign policy, social justice, climate change, nuclear weapon testing, gender, and pop culture. Her stories took her all over the world to places like Sri Lanka, North Korea, India, Australia, Haiti, Cuba, and Uganda. She believed that the best stories were not told from inside a newsroom. She needed to be in on the action. Her extensive client list included the New York Times, Harper's, BBC, The Guardian, Time, The Atlantic, Vice Magazine, Slate, The South China Post, and many others. Okay. On the evening of August 10th, 2017, Kim and her boyfriend, Ole Stobby, were preparing to host their going away party. In 6 days, they were planning to move from their home in Copenhagen to Beijing, China. At 5 p.m. that evening, Kim received a text message from Peter Madsen inviting her to his nearby workshop for tea. She had been trying to get an interview with him for several weeks. If she wanted to get that interview before she left for Beijing, this was her last chance. She agreed and left for his nearby hangar warehouse. Just 30 minutes later, Kim came back home. She grabbed a few things and told Ole, which is her boyfriend, she was going for a 2-hour ride with Madsen on his Nautilus submarine and would have to miss the first few hours of their going away party. UC-3 Nautilus was a 58-foot midget submarine that Madsen had designed and built himself. Wow. Madsen told Kim that they could take a quick trip around the bay surrounding Copenhagen. Uh-oh. I already know how this is going to end. Well, I have an idea. And she could interview him message, quote, "I'm still alive, by the way," end quote. As they cruised through the bay with the tower still above the water, she sent him another photo of nearby windmills. Moments later, as all was entertaining their guests at the waterside barbecue, he and their friends saw Kim waving from the tower of the submarine. Kim sent a final text to all, quote, "Going down now, I love you," end quote. Oh my god. That was the last time they would see Kim alive. For several weeks in 2017, an Australian filmmaker, Emma Sullivan, had been filming a documentary about Madison and his group of engineers for Sky News. That evening, neither Sullivan nor Madison's assistants had known anything about his meeting with Kim Wall. This seemed strange at the time, considering the close proximity they all had. They had all been in during the film. However, in hindsight, it became clear that Madison had purposely hidden the existence of Kim because he knew what was to come. Kim should have returned by 10 p.m. that night, but there was no word from her and no sign of the submarine at the pier. The goodbye party had moved from the waterfront to a nearby bar, but when Ole returned home late that night and Kim was still not back, he was worried sick. Ole rode his bike around the island, searching for her in the dark, but found nothing. Frustrated and frightened, Ole called police just before 2 a.m. to report his girlfriend missing. By dawn, the Danish Navy had issued a full-scale maritime search using 2 helicopters, 3 ships, and several private boats. There had been no distress calls issued the prior night. Finally, several hours later, the Nautilus submarine was spotted floating in the bay south of Copenhagen. Witnesses on nearby rescue boats saw Madison in the submarine's tower wearing his trademark military fatigues. He then disappeared inside the tower for a moment, and a loud whoosh of air was heard coming from the submarine. Seconds later, the submarine quickly started to sink and Madison climbed out. It only took about 30 seconds for the sub to sink as he swam toward the nearby boats. Madison was rescued and unharmed from the sinking vessel, but the question remained, where was Kim? Rescue boats brought him back to Copenhagen and dropped him at the dock. Television crews filmed him giving a thumbs up as he stepped off the boat. Madison told the waiting cameras, quote, "I couldn't close any hatches or anything, but I guess that was pretty good because otherwise I still would have been down there," end quote. There was no mention of Kim. Police detained Madison for questioning, but when he was asked about Kim's whereabouts, he looked confused. According to Madison, he had dropped Kim off at the same pier that he had picked her up from. He said the two of them went on a quick cruise on the bay before he dropped her off as planned and decided to go back out in the submarine by himself. The police didn't believe Madison's overly vague story and suspected that he had intentionally sunk the submarine in an attempt to destroy evidence. He was arrested for preliminary involuntary manslaughter, quote, "for having killed in an unknown way and in an unknown place." Kim session. When asked again about Kim, he changed his story. Madison admitted that he lied when he said he had dropped her off at the pier. He then claimed that he was holding the submarine hatch open for her when he lost his footing and his hand slipped. The hatch fell on her head, crushing her skull and killing her instantly. He told authorities that he had panicked, pulled her body out of the hatch, and, quote, buried her at the sea, end quote. If Madison's story was true, police would know soon enough. Kim's body was bound to wash up ashore sooner or later, so police continued their search of the bay. On August 21, 11 days after Kim went missing, a cyclist riding along the shoreline of Amateur Island noticed something that had washed up on the shore. Upon closer inspection, the cyclist could tell it was part of a human body. It was a torso, missing the arms, legs, and head. So you're telling me that when the hatch accidentally hit her in the head, the hatch removed her torso? No, the hatch removed her arms, legs, and her head. Okay. Using DNA from Kim's hairbrush and toothbrush, the torso was positively identified as that of Kim Wall. She had been stabbed 15 times, 14 of which were in and around her area. It was obvious that Kim's death was no accident. Prosecutors changed their charge against Madison from involuntary manslaughter to murder and improper handling of a corpse. Divers searched the area where the torso had been found and where the submarine had gone down. Over the course of the next month, Kim's head was located, as were both of her legs. All three were in bags with large pieces of metal to help weigh them down. They also found her orange fleece sweater, shoes, socks, and black and white skirt, along with a knife. All were packed inside another plastic bag with large pieces of lead. Medical examiners found no fractures or wounds on Kim's skull, ruling out the possibility of her being struck on the head by the submarine hatch. It was determined that the likely cause of death was strangulation. He must have stabbed her after she was strangled then. Oh God. Despite the discovery of the dismembered body and no damage to her skull, Peter Madison still insisted Kim had died from an accidental hit on the head. He had no explanation for the dismemberment or stab wounds. Madison sat in jail while detectives learned more about him and his strange proclivities. I'm gonna have to look that up. That's a word I learned today. Although he was seemingly happily married, Madison enjoyed his sexual freedom and was known for experimenting in various fetish groups. When forensic detectives searched Madison's computer and iPhone, they found over 140 video clips, many of which were snuff films. Madison had a morbid fascination videos featuring simulated, animated, and actual death. The videos depict women being beaten, strangled, and tortured. There were also videos of decapitation. His browser search history showed that he has searched the internet for beheadings just before their ride in the submarine. So this was planned. Like, he already knew what he wanted to do. That's why he agreed to do the interview with her. Madison denied that any of the videos on the computer were his. He told investigators that the computers were often used by his office staff and an intern. He claimed that the videos could easily have belonged to any one of them. When detectives interviewed Emma Sullivan, who had been filming the documentary about Peter Madsen, she told them that in an interview just days prior to Kim's death, Madsen mentioned that he was, quote, worried that he might be a psychopath, end quote. He also spoke to her about his fixation of having intercourse on a submarine. As the prosecution built their case against him, Madsen changed his story yet again. This time he claimed that Kim had died of accidental carbon monoxide poisoning while she was inside the submarine and he was up on the deck. This new explanation was his excuse for why there was no damage to her skull. His theory was later shut down by the Danish Navy after their examination of the submarine showed no traces of carbon monoxide. Madsen also admitted to dismembering her and dumping the body parts in the sea. The charges against them were changed once again to murder, indecent handling of a corpse, and SA without intercourse. At the trial the next January, Madsen entered a plea of not guilty. The prosecution read aloud a casual text that he wrote to his wife just some moments after he killed Kim Wall. Quote, I am on a little adventure with Natalius, sailing at the sea by the moon. I am not diving, kisses and hugs to the kittens, end quote. The prosecutor queried Madsen on how he had the composure to send such a casual text after such a traumatic event on the submarine. He replied, quote, I know that my wife would worry. I couldn't think of much else than that was a catastrophe on the submarine, end quote. When asked why he decided to dismember and dump Kim's body, if it was all just a tragic accident, Madsen said that he suffered a temporary psychosis. He claimed that he dismembered her, quote, to save her family. It's something so horrible that I do not want to go too into detail, end quote. The prosecution pushed him to elaborate, and Madsen told the court that it was an unbelievably insane situation, which made him think of the movie Seven, when Brad Pitt found his wife's dismembered head in a box at the end. Eventually, Madsen went into detail about the killing and how he needed to put Kim's legs into the toilet to stabilize her body as he beheaded her. Madsen claimed, quote, it was very unpleasant and not planned, end quote. Okay, I'm going to skip all of this and I'm going to start reading from here because he's just going into detail and I'm not getting into all of that. Even the defense's witnesses couldn't deny his obsession with snuff films. his, quote, ideal murder fantasy. This involved filming the murder of a woman while he and his friends dismembered the body together. Okay, I'm gonna skip past this because one witness told the court about a video that Madison once showed her of a woman being strangled with a wire. I'm gonna skip over that. The psychiatrist agreed that Peter Madsen had narcissistic and psychopathic traits, adding that he had, quote, a severe lack of empathy and remorse, end quote, and described him as, quote, extremely untrustworthy and a pathological liar, end quote. Another witness testified that Madsen had repeatedly invited her onto the sub just 2 days before killing him. The prosecution used this information to help establish premeditation. They argued that Madsen had been actively trying to lure women to the submarine. The prosecution also argued that Madsen showed premeditation when he brought along tools such as a 19-inch sharpened screwdriver and saws, tools that typically aren't needed on a submarine. When the prosecution asked Madsen of his childhood, one of his answers was particularly bizarre. Quote, I wanted to be a victim in a child porn film, end quote. On March 8th, 2018, Peter Madsen was found guilty of murder, indecent handling of a corpse, and he was sentenced to life in prison. While in prison on December 19th, 2019, Madsen married someone married this man. Married Jenny Corbin, an eccentric Russian artist living in exile in Finland. Initially, Corbin announced the marriage was part of an art project called, quote, This is not the Peter we knew, end quote. She later claimed the marriage was genuine. Emma Sullivan's documentary about Madsen Into the Deep premiered at the Sundance Film Festival and was originally slated for an April 2020 release on Netflix, but the deal with Netflix has since been withdrawn. That is the ending of the video. Thank you so much for watching.